Your winter fuel payment could be landing in your account again this year, but only if one number sitting on a government file is exactly right. That is the change almost nobody has explained to you properly. I found out how fragile it was last autumn, when my own payment simply vanished, with not one letter of warning to tell me why. So stay with me, because before we are done, I will show you a tax-free payment worth up to £5,000 a year that millions of pensioners never claim, and the exact window in the coming weeks that decides whether the right money reaches you before winter. And yes, this still reaches you, even if you are certain you earn too much or have too much in the bank. Let me start with the thing that has been quietly rewritten right under our noses, because it is the one that had me sitting at my kitchen table with a calculator, genuinely angry. Last year, in the autumn of 2024, the rules on the winter fuel payment were changed almost overnight. For decades it had been simple. If you were over state pension age, the money arrived £200, or £300 if you were over 80. You did not ask for it, it just came. My mother relied on it. My neighbors relied on it. It was the one bit of help you could set your calendar by. Then, without most people understanding what had happened, the government tied that payment to just one thing: whether you were receiving pension credit. And here is the part that caught so many out: around 10 million pensioners lost that payment in a single stroke. 10 million. People who had received it every single year suddenly got nothing. I want you to feel how quiet that change was, because that quietness is the whole story. There was no letter that said, plainly, "You will not be getting your winter fuel payment this year." You simply waited for money that never arrived. That is exactly what happened in my own home. I remember checking my bank on a cold morning in late November, scrolling up and down expecting to see it, thinking the bank had made a mistake. It took me 2 phone calls and the best part of an afternoon to understand that nothing had gone wrong at all. The money was simply never coming. That was the moment I started reading every scrap of small print I could find, and I have not stopped since. But here is where it gets interesting, and here is why this July matters more than last year ever did. The pressure got so fierce that the government performed a full reversal. In June of 2025, the Chancellor announced that the winter fuel payment would be brought back for the vast majority of pensioners. The new rule is this: if your total yearly income is £35,000 or less, you will get the winter fuel payment again this winter. £200 if you are under 80. £300 if you are 80 or over. That covers around 9 million pensioners. The money is coming back to almost everyone it was taken from. So you might be thinking, wonderful, problem solved, I can relax. And that is exactly the trap. Because the way this money comes back is not as simple as the way it was taken away, and the detail hidden inside it is the thing that could still leave you short. Let me explain how it actually works now, because this is where people are going to slip up. The payment is meant to arrive automatically in November or December, based on your income. You should not have to claim it. But everything now hinges on the income figure the government holds for you, the one HMRC and the Department for Work and Pensions can see. If your records are muddled, if your income is assessed wrongly, if you have income streams that are not sitting cleanly on file, You are relying on a system that has already proven it can get things badly wrong. And if you are just over that £35,000 line, the payment is made and then clawed back through the tax system, which is its own headache. Now here is the practical part, the thing you can actually do. Do not assume the machine will get it right. Check what income the government believes you have. Your winter fuel payment eligibility this year rests on your taxable income for the year, your state pension, any private or workplace pensions, and other taxable earnings added together. If that total sits at £35,000 or under, the full payment should reach you with no clawback. Sit down in the next few weeks and add up your own income honestly, so you know which side of that line you fall on before the letters go out. Because if there is a mistake, the time to catch it is now, in the quiet weeks of summer, not in December when the payment is missing and the phone lines are jammed with a million other worried people. And here is the question that kept nagging at me, the one that pulled me deeper. If the money is meant to be automatic, why did 10 million people lose it so silently the first time? Who actually benefited while all those pensioners sat confused, thinking their bank had made an error? Hold that thought, because the answer only makes sense once you see the second change, the one that decides whether you are treated as poor enough to matter. Because everything, and I mean everything, now flows through one benefit that most people who qualify for it are not even claiming. That benefit is pension credit. And I need you to really understand what it is, because the confusion around it is costing people thousands. Pension credit is a top-up. If you are over state pension age and your income is low, it lifts your weekly income up to a guaranteed minimum. For the current year, it tops a single person's income up to £227.10 a week. For a couple, it lifts you to £346.60 a week. If your income falls below those lines, pension credit is designed to make up the difference. Now, that alone is worth having. On average, pension credit is worth around £3,900 a year to the people who receive it. That is not pocket money. That is a genuine lifeline. But here is what almost nobody tells you clearly, and it is the reason I keep coming back to it. Pension credit is not just money in your pocket. It is a key. It unlocks door after door after door. Once you are receiving pension credit, you can become eligible for help with your council tax, a free television license if you are over 75, help with NHS costs like dental treatment and glasses, the warm home discount, and cold weather payments. It is the single most powerful benefit in the whole system for a pensioner on a low income, precisely because it drags all those other entitlements along behind it. But now hold that up against what I just told you about the winter fuel payment. For the whole of last winter, pension credit was the only thing that kept your winter fuel payment alive. If you were on it, you got the fuel money. If you were not, you got nothing. And here is the detail that made my blood run cold when I found it. The government's own figures show that hundreds of thousands of pensioners who are fully entitled to pension credit are not claiming it. Up to 800,000 eligible households, year after year, simply do not put in a claim. That is up to 800,000 of the poorest pensioners in the country, leaving money on the table, money that was, last winter, the difference between getting the winter fuel payment and getting nothing at all. So think about what that means. When the rules were quietly changed, the people who lost out worst were not the comfortable ones. They were the poorest, the ones who qualified for pension credit but never claimed it, either because they never realized, or because they assumed a few pounds of savings ruled them out, or because the form frightened them off. That is who paid the price for the confusion. So let me hand you the practical action right now, because this one is urgent and it is simple. If you are over state pension age, and your income is anywhere near those figures, £227 a week for a single person, £346 for a couple, you must check whether you qualify for pension credit. Do not talk yourself out of it. A small private pension does not automatically rule you out. Modest savings do not automatically rule you out. Owning your own home does not rule you out. People disqualify themselves in their own heads before the system ever gets the chance, and that is exactly the mistake that costs thousands. And here is the piece of timing that makes July the month to act, not September, not December. Pension credit can be backdated by up to 3 months. That means a claim you put in now can be treated as though you made it 3 months ago, but only if you were eligible during that time. Every week you wait is potentially a week of money you can never get back. There is a rolling clock on this, and it never stops ticking. The sooner you claim, the more of the past you can reclaim, and the sooner you are inside the gate for everything else that pension credit unlocks. But therefore I have to be honest with you about something, because I promised I would follow this trail wherever it went. Pension credit is means tested. It looks at your income, it looks at your savings, and if you are even a little over the line, the door closes. And I know exactly what that means for so many of you watching right now. You have worked, you have saved a little, you have a small pension you paid into for years, and every time you hear the word means tested, you switch off, because you assume none of this is for you. If that is you, this is the part I most need you to hear, so please do not go anywhere, because I nearly made that exact mistake myself. I looked at the savings I had put by, I looked at my modest pension, and I told myself, well, clearly all of this is for people worse off than me. I almost walked away from the very thing that turned out to be worth the most. And what I discovered, the thing I want to hand you before the end of this video, is a payment that does not care about your savings at all. It does not care how big your private pension is. It does not care whether you own your home outright or have money in the bank. It is not means tested in any way. And it is the single most overlooked entitlement for older people in this entire country. I am going to come to exactly what it is and how you claim it in just a moment, because it is the heart of everything I have been building towards. But first I need you to understand why it stays so hidden, because that is what makes it so easy to miss. And that is the beginning of the answer to my earlier question, because a benefit nobody claims is a benefit the government never has to pay. And that pattern, the confusion, the silence, the money left on the table is exactly what I set out to map properly, step by step, so that nobody watching this would have to piece it together alone. If you want the full picture in one place, I have put everything I have uncovered into a set of digital books, Pension Alert, Beyond the Basics, and Pension Proof, which walk you through each of these entitlements in plain English, including the exact questions to ask, the forms to request, and the traps to avoid. They are available in the description below. I wrote them because I could not find anything that told the whole story clearly, and I did not want anyone else to sit at their kitchen table feeling as lost as I did that cold November morning. Now, with that fuller picture in mind, let us get back to exactly who is being left behind and why. The trail I kept following led me somewhere that genuinely bothered me. Every one of these systems, the winter fuel payment, pension, credit, the whole tangle depends on you putting yourself forward. Nothing is truly automatic when it matters most. The winter fuel payment was described as automatic, and yet millions lost it. Pension credit is sitting there worth thousands, and yet up to 800,000 households never claim. Do you see the pattern? The money exists. The entitlement is real. But the burden is always placed on you, the pensioner, often in your 70s or 80s, often not online, often never sent a clear letter to know it exists, to work out that you qualify, and to fight your way through the form. And that is who benefits from the confusion, not through some grand conspiracy, but through simple arithmetic. Every entitlement that goes unclaimed is money that stays in the treasury. When a benefit is complicated enough, frightening enough, or quiet enough that a large chunk of eligible people never claim it, the amount saved is enormous. The confusion is not an accident that the system is racing to fix. The confusion does the work, and the people it hits hardest are exactly the people who most need the money and are least likely to be told they are owed it. So let me now give you the thing I have been holding back, the payment that broke this whole pattern open for me. Because this is the one that does not care about your savings, does not care about your pension, and is worth more than almost anyone realizes. It is called attendance allowance, and I can already hear some of you thinking, that is not for me. I am not disabled. I get about fine. Please stay with me, because that misunderstanding is precisely why this is one of the most underclaimed payments in Britain. Attendance allowance is not about being in a wheelchair. It is not about being bedridden. It is a payment for people over state pension age who need some help or supervision because of a physical or mental health condition, and the definition of help is far broader than you would ever guess. It can include needing help getting dressed, needing help washing safely, needing someone to keep an eye on you because of falls, struggling in the night, needing help managing medication, or coping with the effects of conditions like arthritis, heart problems, poor eyesight, hearing loss, dementia, or breathing difficulties. You do not even have to be currently receiving that help from anyone. What matters is that you need it. Here is what it is worth. There are two rates. The lower rate is £73.90 a week. The higher rate, for those who need help both day and night, is £110.40 a week. Let me put that in terms that land properly. The higher rate comes to more than £5,700 a year. The lower rate is over £3,800 a year, tax-free, not means-tested. It does not matter if you have £30,000 in savings. It does not matter if you have a private pension. It does not reduce your state pension. It is yours because of your need and nothing else. But here is the part that made me sit up, and this is the connection almost nobody joins together. Attendance allowance is not just money on its own. Like pension credit, it can act as a key. Claiming attendance allowance can actually increase the amount of pension credit you are entitled to, because it can qualify you for an extra severe disability addition within the calculation. So, the very thing you thought ruled you out, being just over the pension credit line, can be reversed by claiming attendance allowance, which then opens the door to pension credit, which then opens the door to council tax help, to the winter fuel payment, to the whole chain. One claim, and the dominoes fall in your favor instead of against you. Now let me tell you where I found this, because I do not want you to take my word for it as if I am just another voice online. This is set out plainly in the government's own guidance on attendance allowance on the official website, and it is confirmed by the charity Age UK, which has spent years shouting about how badly underclaimed this payment is. Age UK's own research has estimated that a huge number of older people who would qualify for attendance allowance are not receiving it. Hundreds of thousands of people going without thousands of pounds each, every single year, purely because they did not know they were eligible or assumed it was not for them. This is not a loophole. It is not a trick. It is a mainstream official benefit that has been sitting in plain sight while the people it was built for walk straight past it. So, how do you actually claim it? This is the simple part, and I want you to hear how doable it is. You request the attendance allowance claim form from the Department for Work and Pensions. You can call the attendance allowance helpline and ask them to post one to you or start it online. When the form arrives, take your time with it. This is the single most important thing I can tell you about the whole process. Describe your worst days, not your best days. So many people fail this claim not because they do not qualify, but because they are proud and they play down their struggles. They write that they manage fine, when the truth is they manage with pain, with difficulty, with a good deal of help. Write down every task that is harder than it should be. Write down the nights you are up. Write down the times you need someone nearby in case you fall. Be honest about the reality, not the brave face you put on for visitors. And here is a detail worth its weight in gold. There is a qualifying period. Normally you need to have needed that help for 6 months before the payment starts. But do not let that put you off claiming now, because that clock only counts if you have started it in your own mind. If your condition has already been affecting you for months, you may well already have met that period. The point is this: every week you delay putting in the claim is a week of money you will never see. This is why I am begging you not to file this away as a job for another day. The form going in now is money in your account this year. Let me pull the whole trail together, because now you can see the full shape of it, and I want you to see how the pieces lock. The winter fuel payment was taken from millions and is now being handed back, but only if the income figure on your file is right, so you must check it before winter. Pension credit is worth thousands and unlocks a dozen other forms of help, but up to 800,000 households never claim it, and it can be backdated 3 months, so every week counts. And attendance allowance sits above all of it. Not means tested, not touched by your savings, worth up to more than £5,700 a year, and capable of unlocking pension credit for people who thought they earned too much, which then unlocks everything else. 3 changes, 3 deadlines pressing in this summer. One thread running through all of them. The money is real, but the system will never chase you to take it. You have to reach out and take it yourself. And now you understand why I kept saying this reaches you even if you were sure it did not. Because the people most likely to miss out are exactly the people who tell themselves they are managing. They are not badly off enough. They do not want to make a fuss. That pride, that decency, that habit of not wanting to be a burden, it is being used against you. Every pound you do not claim is a pound the Treasury quietly keeps. There is nothing selfish about claiming what you are owed. You paid into this system your whole working life. This is not charity. This is yours. So here is what I need you to do, and I need you to do it while it is fresh, not filed away for a rainy day that never comes. This week, add up your yearly income and find out which side of that £35,000 line you fall on for the winter fuel payment. This week, check whether your income is low enough for pension credit, and if there is any chance at all, put the claim in so the 3-month backdating works for you and not against you. And this week, if you or someone you love needs any kind of help or supervision through the day or night because of a health condition, request that attendance allowance form and fill it in describing your hardest days. 3 actions. A single afternoon. Potentially thousands of pounds that were always meant to be yours. I started down this road because of an empty space in my bank account on a cold morning, and a payment that vanished without a word. I promised myself then that I would never again be the person who found out too late. And that is really what this comes down to, the kind of person you are. You are not someone who sits quietly and lets what is yours slip away because a form looked frightening or a rule sounded like it was written for somebody else. You are someone who protects yourself and who protects the people you love, the parent, the partner, the friend who would never think to claim any of this on their own. So do one thing for me. Think of one person in your life right now who might be missing out on attendance allowance. Someone in their 70s or 80s who struggles more than they admit, and tell me about them in the comments below. Tell me their situation, and tell me whether you had ever heard of this payment before today. I read these, and I answer where I can, and every comment helps the next worried person who finds this video know they are not alone. This audience does not tend to speak up, so please, break that habit just this once, because your comment could be the thing that switches the light on for a stranger. And if you want to be among the people who find these things out in time, instead of the ones who discover the money was there only after the deadline has passed, then stay close. Because the next thing I am digging into is a change coming to how your state pension and your tax records talk to each other, a quiet shift that could push some pensioners into paying tax they never expected to owe. I will break it down the same way, in plain English, before the letters land. Do not let them keep you in the dark. Find out with me, in time, while there is still something you can do about it. That one number on your file, the one this whole payment hinges on. Inside my membership, the Pension Watch, I walk you through checking and correcting it, picking up right where we stopped. You can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You would not be alone. So many pensioners are already inside with me. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen, and cancel anytime. One click, no risk.